morning, everyone. My name is Naomi, and this is Anastasia, and we are the founders of Kitro. Can we have the PowerPoint? Or not? Okay, so Anna and I are excited to be here today. We've heard about food waste yesterday. We're hearing more about it today, so it's very exciting for us to be presenting here. Anna and I are dedicated to addressing the issue of food waste in the hospitality industry, and we're going to show you some of the benefits, the cost and environmental benefits of tackling this issue. So we all know food waste is an issue. We heard just about it now. But looking at it from a social level, there are over 800 million people who don't have enough food to eat. Yet when we look around, there seems to be an abundance of food. So it makes us question, is there really not enough supply to feed the global population? Well, actually, 1/3 of all the food that we're producing is said to end up in the trash. This amounts to over 1.3 billion tons of food and costs over $680 billion US. So the social implications of food waste are enormous. And actually, if we could reduce food waste by just a quarter, we'd be able to feed everyone who currently suffers from chronic hunger. So those are just a few of the key numbers on the social level, but what about the environment? So obviously the environment pays a huge cost for all the perfectly edible food that is thrown away. If food waste was a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of CO2 emissions. And when we talk about food waste in the environment, we have to consider all the other resources that are damaged or destroyed along the way. Resources such as land, energy, water, all of these are destroyed because we're throwing away perfectly edible food. So we know that food waste is occurring, but the question is, why is it occurring? Where is it occurring, and why haven't we stopped it?
So there are different sources of food waste occurring along the entire supply chain, and actually this graph that's coming up here shows perfectly that those sources, the main sources of food waste, differ per region. And so we touched upon it yesterday already, the challenges faced to manage to get the food from the farms to the plate. And here you can see that in regions, for example, such as Southeast Asia, we see that the largest contributor of food waste is actually in the production, storage, and handling area. This is definitely a result due to poor infrastructure, but also due to the extremely high expectations and standards regarding produce cosmetics. In other regions, such as Europe, we see that a larger portion of this waste is pushed downstream to the consumption area. It's not you. To the consumption area. I don't know. Just going to continue, I guess. So a larger portion is pushed downstream to the consumption area, meaning retails and households. So when people have the luxury of an abundance of food, it becomes an issue of food waste and no longer food loss. So why is this waste occurring along the entire supply chain, especially looking at the consumption area? We see that just as bad habits actually happen or are formed in individuals, it also happens on an organizational level. And if they're not identified and mitigated, they will stick. So by gaining more insights into the quantities and implications of food waste, the urgency to address this issue is growing. You see, in the past, it has been extremely hard to set regulations or standards because we had a huge lack of numbers here. And only recently, the severity of this issue is starting to gain more and more attention since we've been able to associate numbers to the costs, the quantities, and the environmental impact of food waste. So by having a better understanding of food waste and where it comes from, we can take more efficient steps in order to tackle it. And this is why here today, Naomi will now talk about the implications of food waste in the hospitality industry.
So all you can eat. All you can eat is a fairly common concept. This idea of stacking your plate with as much food as it can fit. But whether you can eat all you can or not, this food has been grown, bought, shipped, prepared, and served. And its final destination? The rubbish heap. So as consumers continue to stack on more than they can, chefs are demanded to fill this insatiable appetites. This, along with the fact that it's really hard to have a complete overview of all the processes and happenings in the back of house, especially in larger operations, means that our rubbish bins are filling up and the content is a mystery. And herein lies a problem. Throw it in, you close the bin, and you take it away. In this industry, we face high costs and low profit margins, so there's very little room for error to stay afloat. Costs vary between restaurant types and between countries, but at least in Europe, we see that labor and food costs are constantly battling for first place, and they range between 25% and 38%. So while we look for every possible way to reduce our food costs, Right underneath our nose, our bins are filling up with our time, our money, and our energy. So what can be done? What are the solutions? Current solutions include consultants that will come in and run audits in your outlets, or even manual solutions where you can write down what you're throwing away or type it into an iPad. These are quite manual and oftentimes very temporary, so you're just measuring at a one-time go. But they all take the same approach. They want to quantify food waste. How much is being thrown away, what item is being thrown away, and where is it occurring? Because as we all know, what gets measured gets done. So in the hospitality industry, we see a trend towards more tech. It's becoming more and more tech savvy. We see new innovations coming along, optimized POS system, online booking platforms, all of these that allow us to personalize the user experience and really meet the growing expectations. But where we see a lack is in sustainable development for this industry. We know that food waste is a problem, but why don't we bring tech into this and combine it together to make it more automated and simple for the users? So that's what we're doing at Kitro. At Kitro, we combine high tech with food waste management. We're the first fully automated food waste management solution that allows users to automatically measure their food waste so they can reduce their costs and their environmental impact. We're based in Switzerland, and we're currently doing pilots. So today, the device looks like this. We have a hardware device that we station above and below your trash bin, allowing us to capture what is being thrown away. Users then receive reports that outline their food waste. They can know how much food they're throwing away, what kind of food they're throwing away, where it's occurring, and how it's broken down day by day. By having this overview of what they're throwing away and where it's occurring, users are empowered to reduce their food waste so that they can reduce their costs and environmental impact. So as I mentioned, we are piloting at the moment. We have three active pilots. We completed 4, and we have 22 planned before our product launch in 2019. So I want to show you some of the numbers. We don't have enough to really go into the case studies, but if you're interested in hearing more, we're happy to talk after about it. So the first pilot that we did was with a luxury hotel in Switzerland. We really looked at the banqueting area, and we measure usually between 2 to 3 months during these pilots. So in this particular case, we measured for 3 months, and in the banqueting area, from the first week that we started until the end, they saw a reduction in their avoidable food waste, so food that could have been eaten, by 42%. This is a cost saving of over 450 Swiss francs, or roughly 14,000 baht, if the calculation's right. So here, this is the same outlet. We really identified that breakfast buffet is their primary source of waste. You can see salmon, eggs, and sausage were really key items here. We showed them this, highlighted it, showed them images of where it's occurring, the weight, the time, and you can see from week 1 to week 5, they were able to drastically reduce the waste in just these items. The other property that we worked with is a smaller property. Smaller concept, less menu items, more of a fast food concept. And even here, even though they had less waste to begin with, by the end of the 4 weeks, just by understanding where their food waste was occurring and how much, they were able to significantly reduce it by week 4. So those are just some of the highlighted numbers, and now Anna's going to show you some averages and some standards and initiatives in the industry.
So first, I have a quick question. Who of you currently works or runs a hotel or restaurant? If you could put your hands up. All right, all right. And who is currently measuring food waste? Okay, already a few of you. That's good. So here are some of the benefits of measuring food waste. Based on case studies run in Europe, actually, restaurants were able to reduce their food waste by up to 70%, which led to an increase in their food profit margin by up to 8%. Based on a recent study we ran in the luxury hotel segment, which Naomi just mentioned, this hotel was able to save 2,400 francs, Swiss francs. This is roughly 2,500 US dollars in just 1 month. And the crazy part about this is merely due to the fact, those cost savings are due to the fact that we opened their eyes to the issue and showed them exactly where their problem areas were. But outlets not only save in terms of food costs or food disposal costs, it also has a positive impact on their CSR strategy. So they actually can prove to their customers, because many restaurants nowadays, they have those sustainability targets. They can actually prove to their customers that they're doing something and they are making an impact. And after all, it's a good case to fight for because the food sector alone accounts to more than 30% of the total energy consumption worldwide and also to nearly 1/4 of the greenhouse gas emissions in the whole world. So now we'd like to show you a quick video, if it works, with one of our users who shows the product. It's a small restaurant, or actually a hotel, a small hotel in a Swiss ski resort. And after one month pilot that we did with them, they actually decided to continue measuring and even took 2 more devices for another restaurant within their group. So let's see.
All right, so we're skipping that.
We can, if it doesn't work, we skip it.
You can go online to our website and you'll see the video there. It's online.
Let's do it like this. Let's move on.
Don't worry about it.
So now that we've seen some of the key benefits of measuring food waste, you might wonder, why should I start now? Well, honestly, because it's about time. For too long, we've been able to ignore this issue and close our eyes, but now with the numbers and the proof, we really need to take action. And so I'm sure you're all familiar with the UN Sustainability Goals, and what you see here is the Initiative 12.3, which focuses only on reducing food waste and food losses. And this has led many governmental organizations and corporations to really take action in order to reach this target. They're planning to halve food waste by 2030. And we see, for example, in countries like France or Italy, they even implemented laws that penalize food wasters or incentivize people that save food in the retail area so far, not in the hospitality area. And other countries, smaller countries such as Denmark or the UK, they've been able to reduce their food waste by up to more than 20% in the past 5 years, so it is possible. So we see that with those larger players and even governments are taking action, there's also an increase on an individual level. So people are getting more and more aware of the issue, and thus solutions to tackle the problem are becoming more obvious. Because the more we measure, the more we know, the better we can act, and the greater is the impact. So what is the solution? How can changes be made without jeopardizing the offer quality to our guests? Naomi mentioned a few options already, a few solutions, but the first step is really to understand what is filling up the bin in your restaurant. Get curious. Which item is being thrown out the most? Why is it there? Where did it come from? Because the point is here, what gets measured gets done, or saved in this case. By shining a light on food waste, we not only want to raise awareness in the back of the house, but also for the front consumer, for the guests. So let's think twice before we throw away this perfectly edible meat or meal. Let's think twice before we send those ugly fruits to the fire. And let's start thinking about how we can repurpose certain items. Because if we open our eyes, we can shine light, we can bring back the value of all food so it's appreciated and not wasted. So with Kitro, we really want to make food waste management effortless and intuitive. And as Naomi mentioned, we're currently piloting because we want to really develop this product together with the customers, with chefs. So if you're a chef or if you're working in a restaurant, you're measuring food waste, we would be excited to talk to you and hear how you currently deal with the issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.